I'm Matt Handy, and you're listening to My Last Relapse.
So where do we start?
Let's start with your last relapse.
Ooh, my last relapse. I've been thinking about this, because it was about September of 2011. So it was like 2-3 months before I actually committed to the process of recovery, where because leading up to that, it was, this house of cards that I'd built,
Mm-hmm.
these dual lives where I was doing advertising and graphic design, and then I dramatically lost my job earlier in the year, and then like July of 2011, and I was paycheck to paycheck, so it was like I had zero options. So I basically went from a mishmash of independence, where I was like, all right, I wasn't homeless, but I was struggling to be like a functioning member of society, to just like, all right, flop down basement room at my dad's house with like the mattress, no sheets even, you know, Mickey's 40s. Remember Mickey's?
Absolutely.
Is that still a thing?
The big mouths?
Like those big green.
Yeah, the 40.
Oh my God. My stomach turns just thinking about that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were freezing 40s of 411. So
you would freeze them.
So you only had to drink this much of it.
Oh, all right.
And then we just slam that back and.
God. Well, and then, because that was the interesting part about it. Like, so my dad passed away last year, and it was my job I was in charge of the estate. And so I was like cleaning out the house, and I literally found old Mickey's 40s half full with cigarette butts still floating in them from like 20 years ago.
Moldy?
In this basement. I don't know. I don't think they were moldy. Like it was like a little tiny, it was like a little ecosystem, you know? But yeah, I basically had this massive drug and alcohol daily habit,
mm-hmm.
and I go from making good money to no income with the same habit. And so that's where things just really went downhill fast. And it was that September when, the signs of that, of like, all right, my family knows what's going on. Like it got to the point, because my mom was like kind of a hoarder. Like and in the final years of her life, she really started leaning into like the home shopping network, like early 2000s QVC shit. And so there would be these rooms just like full of random shit. And because it's basically a 5-bedroom house, my dad only used one room of.
Okay,
and the rest
was it stacked to the roof though?
It was pretty stacked.
Okay.
Yeah, and then it turns out those same stacks are the things that I had to clean up after my dad passed away.
Okay.
So it was very cyclical, because I had that thought as I was going through it, because like there would be these drawers in this random room, and I'd have a clear memory of like being desperate, just like dope sick, and looking for something that I could sell for $20 to where I could feel like a regular human, because that's like where it had progressed to.
Mm-hmm.
Over that period of time. Like using stopped being fun years before.
Yeah.
But it was just like, all right, I need this in order to like bring me up to par to where I could function. And that was the reality of it, when I was like just so physically dependent on it. But it was also what I told myself that would kind of keep the show going.
That's a very typical thing that you hear in addiction, right? That like in order to feel normal, you got to get high.
Right.
And there is like a mental component to that, but people fail to realize the reality of what that means.
Oh yeah. Like, and that was the hardest part with it. Like, that's why I ended up losing that job. Because it was a prerequisite for functioning.
Mm-hmm.
And like, because I would just get so violently ill if I didn't use.
Yeah.
And it's not like something I could push through. I tried.
Yeah,
and
no.
It is just not possible.
No, there is a biological component of you being sick. It's not going to go away.
No, exactly. Well, and I think that's where like the biological and the mental kind of mix together, because it's like, all right, I feel like I've been hit by a truck, but I know the solution to this in the immediate.
Yeah.
And it's like one small dose of that, and then you feel like a human again. And it's like, oh, And so basically that's where it started, was like, she had all these QVC purchases all over the place and just stacks of boxes that I know my dad hadn't looked at in years, and so it was digging through some of that and finding something that I could sell at a pawn shop, or, with that idea of like, okay, I do this and then I'll feel normal today.
Is this where you found the Luger?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that was when I found the Luger. Yeah, which is that's a big story altogether.
Yeah, it is.
But then that's also where I found my dad's checkbook.
Okay.
And then,
oh wow,
yeah, so that's where it really, like, and that was like, because like as I'm foraging, I guess that's a polite way of putting it.
Sure.
And as I'm foraging through this house looking for stuff, it started with like what I could justify easy at the beginning was like, all right, things he's never going to notice. Stuff that's like my mom purchased 10 years prior that are literally in the same package they came in, 'cause she died in 2005 and this is 2011. So 6 years per. And, but then I would stumble upon things of like, oh yeah, that's worth something, but he would definitely know. So it would be like a radio on a shelf in the living room. It would be a checkbook. It would be the Luger. It'd be these like family heirlooms that's like, all right, he's going to know about that. Like, okay, I can't grab those, and it was basically like my ability to justify just like eroded as I got more and more desperate and more hopeless. And really that's like where, I took the Luger. That's where I took the checkbook, was when I got to this point where I 100% like believed in my bones that I was going to die, where it was like, okay, well, what does a felony matter for somebody who's dead? It's like, doesn't. And that gave me like permission and license inside my mind to like, all right.
Yeah. And were those actually the words? Like, what does this matter if I'm dead?
Yeah.
Wow.
I was convinced. It was like, the sky is blue. It was a fact. The sky is blue. I am going to die.
And was it more than just heroin?
Yeah. I mean, it was, and that's really where it got bad. It was the combination of heroin, cocaine with like alcohol underneath all of it.
Okay.
So it was, and it started, with, because it's that progression.
Yeah.
It started with just like weekend warrior doing a pill of OxyContin with a group of friends as we're out going to parties and stuff like that. And then it slowly ramped up from there to where it became a daily ritual and a thing that I needed in order to function and make it to work. Like if I didn't have it that morning when I woke up, then I was calling into work for some bullshit reason.
Yeah, of course.
And the elaborate reasons.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh my God. Like
absolutely
the horrible luck that befell me in this dream world.
It's like, the absolute unrealisticness of it.
It's like you just got out of the hospital for pneumonia and now you have sepsis. Yeah. Oh my God. And then I would like
the pop tire can only pop so many times.
Yeah,
so
I know.
It's like my transmission is on the floor.
Right. And it's like, how many grandmas do you have? How
how
have they all died?
I did the same thing, right? Like, but I would do that. Well, I put that on my dead grandma. It's like, I don't have a dead grandma.
Well, it was, there was the two most ridiculous. So one was I faked a kitchen fire. And then I found a picture online. And in like 2010, like this was pretty novel.
Right.
Right. And I found a picture online of a burnt up kitchen and then texted that to my boss.
People aren't looking up metadata.
It's like, this is what I'm dealing with over here, And and that bought me a day off to be miserable and sick and detoxing, And then another one was I faked a spill. I faked eating it down the stairs or something, and then like I'm in the hospital get my ankle checked out, and then for a month after that, I had a wrapped ankle and walked on crutches at work to back up the lie.
For one day.
For one day. Yeah. One day of detoxing at home. It was either detoxing or because the other reason was just being high. So I was like, oh, I've got plenty. And I just don't want to go to work today. I'd rather just sit here and, play video games.
That's interesting.
So that was the other part of it.
That's interesting.
Yeah. But I did it for a whole month. And I remember there was times where like You know, I'd walk across the office and then forget for a half a second, like, oh shit. And then I was like, did anybody see? You know, or I'd walk normal for 2 steps and then catch myself with the crutches. And it's just like, that's like the crazy illusion that I would tell myself, and then the others do as well, is that this is what makes life easier. When in reality, you know, like the drugs made life immeasurably more difficult than it needed to be.
Yeah.
Like the effort. Like that's daily hours of daily effort to hold up a lie for one day
Yeah.
of missing work, you know.
So funny.
Yeah. Because that was like when I was a senior in high school, you know, they have like the senior quote that you put underneath your name and everything in the
I don't know.
yearbook.
I didn't make it.
You didn't make it? Well, that's something people do, you know, where they have like a little quote they put under their name. And mine was, it is so corny looking back on it now, but mine was play the game with codes was mine. And that was my cheat code for life was drugs and alcohol, you know? And that was the thing. I was like, why doesn't everybody do this?
Yeah.
You know, it's like, it makes things so much easier. And it's like, no, now looking back on it, it's like, good God, the amount of effort.
Yeah, you know what's funny too? I think a lot of people do that. They just don't get stuck in it.
Yeah. No, that's true. That's true. Or I mean, I don't know. How many people could recreationally use heroin and not get stuck in it? I think like heroin might be the different thing.
What I should say is a lot of people have a social lubricant. Like everybody in my high school was partying together on the weekends.
Right.
But the party never stopped for us.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And then it's not a party after a while.
No, and then it's just like it's a crutch, you know?
Yeah,
it's like you're a donkey pulling a cart up a hill. You know, and the cart keeps getting heavier and heavier, and it's just like it's like what Sisyphus, you know?
Yeah, like just constantly rolling back down,
rolling that boulder up the hill, down the hill, up the hill, down the hill. You know?
Yeah, I never really saw it as a crutch. I literally just saw it as like a part of who I was.
Yeah, this is my identity. This is who I am. I mean, that was like, you know, Hunter S. Thompson was like a huge influence on me when I was a teenager. Like,
did you ever read who's the guy that writes about him all the time? He has a Slavic name. He wrote The Cat in the Cradle. It's about Hunter S. Thompson.
I'm not sure. Yeah.
Let's look it up.
Yeah. But I got so into, I read every book that he ever wrote. And that's like, there's like 3 things that I still have from my addiction, like possession wise, because I lost absolutely everything. And one of them being like 3 or 4 Hunter Thompson books that are still on my shelf.
Kurt Vonnegut.
Oh, Kurt Vonnegut.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Kurt Vonnegut. Yeah, like he's in that same class.
Yeah.
And
he actually wrote about him a lot.
Yeah. No, that's a whole nother thing. Breakfast of Champions. Was that him or was that John?
I don't think that was him.
John Irving.
He did like Siren of Titans,
Slaughterhouse
One-Eyed Dick, Slaughterhouse 5.
Yeah.
Ice Nine Kills.
Same type of thing, though.
Yeah.
Cut from the same cloth. But like there's that opening scene of Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, that opening line, you know, half a mile outside of Barstow when the drugs started to take hold. And they have, he has just this case of every drug that you could possibly think of. And I remember reading that when I was 16 and being like, oh, that's what I want to be.
Dude, that's funny. We were talking about like childhood inspirations.
People are like, I want to be an astronaut. It's like, no, I want to have a briefcase full of every drug known to man.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted.
It's like these indicators early on that like if we're actually being honest that we can look back on and say there was definitely a fucking problem.
Oh, yeah. And I can see it now with just like crystal clear, like clarity. That like my relationship with dopamine is different than your average person.
Yeah.
You know, is wired different.
Why do you think that is? Like, what was your, we'll call it trauma for?
Well, yeah, it's a bunch of different things. So it's like one part genetics. You know, all 4 of my grandparents were alcoholics.
Okay.
You know, not as much on my mom's side, but like great grandparents on that side. So it's like it runs in all the family. My mom, now looking back on it, struggled with addiction in her own way, you know.
Not necessarily substances?
Well, substances, but prescribed medications.
Okay.
You know, and this was in the early 2000s, late 90s. where it's like you stub your toe and you get a massive bottle of Oxycontin. And yeah, like, well, and there's so many documentaries and things around it where like pain became the fifth vital sign, or sixth or whatever it is. And so that was one part of it, where that and then food was like her thing.
Okay.
So I think, there's a genetic component, but I think a lot of it was childhood stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of it was just abuse and neglect.
Mm-hmm.
And it became a way to cope, with just feeling deeply uncomfortable in my own skin.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of it was the echoing voices of people, of places, of things that, it's like the baton was passed to me by the trauma, but then my subconscious, my mind picked up and ran with it.
Mm-hmm.
And it became this undertone, and how my brain was constructed, and that I'm still kind of like picking the pieces apart now,
Isn't that
as
interesting?
I go.
It's like we have like, if you add all the time together that like contributed to the trauma, it's like a couple hours, maybe
right,
a couple hours of like time.
But it just echoes.
Yeah.
It echoes and reverberates. And I mean, and that's just, and you look at it from an evolutionary perspective, that's really where it makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Where it's like, how did humans survive past the caveman days? And it's by having a mind that is like
geared for protection.
Well, it's geared towards, all right, what could go wrong? Like, what are the things that could hurt me? Where am I not safe? And it's the same reason, like, somebody gets into a car accident and there's and they're not anywhere near the road, massive traffic jam for miles, the rubbernecking, people like looking at it like, ooh. And that's even why, social media and like online, like news. I mean, how often, what's the ratio of bad news to good that they report on the news? It's like 10 to 1, right? And that's because that's what we're inherently interested in.
Definitely drawn to it.
What could go wrong? And I think that was part of the deconstruction of the lies that I told myself for so long, was that realization that for every person that hurt me, there was 100 that did right by me. But in my mind, all I remember is the one.
Yeah.
And then it continues to guide decisions and fear and, apprehension, whatever, going forward. Yeah. But really, so, going back to my dad's house, I mean, it was September of 2011. And, the house of cards starts falling, where he's noticing, where it's like a prized possession on the shelf is just gone, and really it came down to, he goes to deposit a check in his bank account and it's negative, just like fucking crazy, like negative 8,000 or something like that. And it basically, I mean, these checks some were bigger than others, but a lot of them were like $40, where I would justify it for that one day.
Yeah.
Where I'd be like,
just $40.
It's just $40
today.
It's just $40. And then with this, I can go apply for that job. I can go hit the gym. I can, and it's just this bullshit that I would tell myself. And then I would get $40 worth of drugs. I would feel normal. And then I would just play video games or like, do jack shit.
Falls flat.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and that was the cycle.
Yeah.
And so I am in this basement room and my dad comes up to me, doesn't say a word, just hands me the phone. And it's a detective from the Jefferson County Sheriff's or whatnot. And him just basically laying out there. It's like, we know what you did. We know, it was not the crime of the century. Like, I wasn't even trying to hide it because, again, I was at this place of hopelessness.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I'm not going to be here for more than another couple of weeks. So, fuck it. Not even going to hide it. And I think it was also another part of me just wanting to get caught, and so he hands me the phone and the detective is like, because at that point, I never even had a parking ticket. Like, I'd never gotten in any kind of trouble at all. I'm 25 at the time, 26.
With an education.
With a
good job. Well,
had a good
freshly
job.
just lost.
With an education, with a good job, and I was, up until that point, I was a ramshackled contributor to society. Like I wasn't homeless or anything.
Yeah.
Like there was, yeah, well, that part will come, but um, so they give me a chance to turn myself in. So it's like, okay, we want you to turn yourself in. Let's get this taken care of. Let's get you some help. Da, 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 da. So I go and I turn myself in, which is like probably one of the scariest days of my life.
Mhm.
Just walking in, and, because I had no idea what to expect.
Mhm.
I'm like a suburban kid, turning myself into these detectives for what I know is multiple felonies. And so I'm there for overnight. They release me the next day, PR bond, because I have no record. They go off of
Yeah.
what I had before. And with the suggestion of like, all right, we think you should get some help. You think about turning yourself, go into a treatment program. And I had no idea what a treatment program was at all. At that point, I'd gone to maybe a handful of AA meetings, but even still, it was I was nudged there by family.
Yeah. So just
And
completely out of your depth as far as what you need to do at this
well, exactly. And then resistance. And
Okay.
and like so like the early meetings that I went to way back then, it was like girlfriends or family of like knowing that like there's something wrong here. And so then they would just drop me off at a meeting and be like, all right, we'll be back in an hour. And then I just sit in the back with my arms crossed, like, oh, this is bullshit. These people don't know what the fuck they're talking about. And I just sit in the back and judge and try and have the meeting fit the narrative that I had in my mind so that I could keep going out there and keep using because
Yeah.
it's not that bad.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it's not that bad. You guys are crazy. You're the problem. I'm not the problem.
Yeah.
Well, it's like obvious horse shit.
Dude, the level of delusion and justification that we are
Yeah.
capable of
Mhm.
is so amazing.
Well, and a lot of it speaks to just how my brain, and this is just not just for me, but for others that are going through the same thing, where it's like our brains get completely rewired
Yes.
to where sobriety equals death. Where it's like the removal of this drug and the fear of detox is so prevalent that it's on par with dying. So it's like, all right, what do I have to do to survive? And then that's the twisted motivation. That's like, okay, maybe stealing a checkbook and writing a check to myself isn't that bad.
Mhm.
Because in my mind, it was equal to death.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the fear of the detox, right? I tell people all the time that it's like drugs stopped working for me years before.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, well, why'd you keep doing it then?
Because you're tethered to it. It's
Because
like,
I'm really, really scared to come off of it.
yeah. Yeah.
And then there's like my head, I'm like, okay, well, I come off of it. No, well, now what?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm living under a bridge. It's like,
Yeah. And then it's
what am I
like,
going to do?
well, and then it's then the pressure of being an actual adult kind of comes in.
That too.
And it's like if you're not fitted with like, because I now like after continuing to peel back the layers here, I recognize that one of my core things in that fed so much of this and why I dove so hard into drugs and alcohol in the beginning was fear. It was fear of failure, fear of such a deep fear of failure to where I wouldn't even put myself out there.
Okay.
Like, to where it translates to like not even like taking basic risks.
Yeah.
If
you don't walk outside, you never have to fail.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, I'm just going to hide.
Yeah.
I'm going to get as high as possible and hide from the world.
Mm-hmm.
That's what because I went to that place of isolation like pretty quickly, and it started off, teenage years up to, college and then early 20s and everything. It was very intertwined with social. Like, I was working and that's what I would do in the evenings. That's what I do on the weekends. It was like a hobby, like a fucked up hobby, but a hobby.
Yeah.
And, but then it transformed over to like, oh, wait, if I do it by myself, it means I don't have to share. I can get higher. Oh, okay. And so then it transformed over to like, I do it in the evenings and the weekends, but I do it by myself in a dark room, and then especially once you remove the job, then that became my full-time job.
Yeah.
Was like getting as high as possible and hiding as much as possible because the mounting shame and guilt of this cycle. I would see people that I went to school with have families,
And be like,
it's like so-and-so just got their master's. Oh, and they're married and they have 2 kids. And I, compare myself to them. And then just the shame and the guilt would come in. And I had such a lack of coping skills at that time. Like the only way I knew how to deal with that was numbing through drugs and alcohol.
But you know what? Drugs and alcohol are really good at what they do.
They are. They're effective.
Yeah.
It's just not sustainable. It was like, and then even still, it's just the anxiety and the fear and the pain and the anger and
so much.
Like that narrative in my mind, because it was, and this was so much of the pattern was like I had set a goal, unrealistic goal, like thinking it's realistic to like, all right, I can not even take a shower or put on like a nice pressed shirt, and like as long as I just do heroin, then I can go and apply for this job and turn all this stuff around. All it's going to take is $40, and then I'm there. And it's like it's delusional.
And it'll all happen today too.
Yeah, right. But that was also a way of like setting myself up, where it was. So I would like have this delusional idea of what I could do if only I had $40, and it was a way to get $40 feel somewhat normal, knowing that I would fall short of this goal, and then it would be a vehicle for me to continue this negative self-talk of like, see, you piece of shit,
Yeah.
like there it is again, more evidence. I was like, I was like an archivist. I was, like a librarian of reasons for why I was a piece of shit. I was like, more evidence, throw it on. And it was all bullshit, like it was, and I think like that's like where my relationship with hopelessness has changed so much over the years is recognizing that, so much of addiction and then so much of just like what things that people deal with. Your everyday person deals with this internal battle of impulsivity versus investment in what's going to feel, what's going to feel good now versus what's going to feel good later.
Yeah.
And it's this like, do I eat the candy bar or do I go to the gym? And it's that blown up on a macro scale.
Yeah.
And I would invest in letting that impulsive monster in the back of my mind have as much strength as possible.
Yeah.
And so much of that investment, the currency for that investment was the illusion that I was a piece of shit, was negative self-talk. Like that was money in the bank for that guy, to get behind the steering wheel and like, okay, it means I don't have to go through detox today. That was close. Fuck. I mean, like, okay, I don't need to face down these difficult things. Okay, good. Because I'm a piece of shit. And like, it's so weird to think about that now. But anyway, so turn myself in and then start looking at rehabs, and then it's just like the most cursory bullshit. Google search, like I'd say about 3 minutes of effort.
So what were you searching?
I was searching for, I think it was just like rehab.
Yeah. So
like
where were you living at the time?
I was in Denver.
So Denver
rehab. Yeah. And the place that came up was a place called Denver Cares, which is like, what now, since I know so much more about it, but it's like a social detox at best.
Oh, wow.
Like not even a rehab.
Are they still around?
I think, they're still around. Wow. They have the nickname of Denver Scares up there. Oh. Yeah. Because it's like a big, like barracks style, dorm style, bunk beds, flickering fluorescent lights. Like they don't even give you any like at least back then. Now this is a while ago, so I'm betting they do a lot more now, and especially because like so much has progressed with Suboxone and MAT and all. Back then it was just like methadone. There's methadone and Suboxone was around, but it was like pretty new. It wasn't widespread, and so really all they would do, they do an intake. And then you watch Judge Judy and you take the occasional Imodium so you don't shit your pants. Like that was detox. and
sweat it out.
Like those Keebler cheesy crackers, like that. It was that. And then you're just in a blanket with a room full of other people huddled around a shitty TV. And so I'm there for 2 days, and then, the justification in my mind, it's like, all right, if I'm gonna sweat this out, I would much rather do this where I'm home, where I'm comfortable. Like, they're not giving me the medications that I want, and this would be so much better if I had a bottle of whiskey, where it's like, and it's all bullshit so that I could go out and use again, And so really that was because up until so my recovery date is 11/4/11. So the last time I used anything was in the late hours of 11/3/11. And so this last relapse was a couple of months before that, where I made it 2 days. And really prior to that, and this was something I examined while I was sitting in jail eventually, was I had never made it past 5 days at that point. And I started using when I was 13. So from 13 until 26, the longest batch I had was 5 days, and that was pure white hot, white knuckling. I was like no support whatsoever, sweating it out on a couch.
And was it just because you didn't have a choice?
Yeah, and I think that time was that was like pressure of a girl I was dating at that point.
Okay.
And it was also because I was still in that pre-contemplative phase of just like, no, it's not that big of a deal. I can stop if I want to. And then she'd be like, okay, well, prove it.
Okay.
Stop.
When did you realize that you were an addict?
Well, back then, because it was also like the internal narrative versus the external. Like what was going on up here versus what am I actually willing to talk about? And up there, I mean, I realized it when I was a kid.
Okay.
Like when I was a little kid, I realized that my brain is wired a little bit different. Where like one of the first real times of it was, I'm in my early 20s. And well, and then there was a few other times. Like, I'm 17 and I wake up on the bathroom floor, like just basically time travel from hanging out with friends to being on the bathroom floor in a puddle of vomit, and it's the next day and it's like, how in the fuck did I get here? And just complete blackout, not having any memory of what happened the night before. That was where it's like, okay, this isn't healthy, But at that point, it was all internal. It's like I wasn't going to talk about it to anybody because of the shame and the guilt and the misunderstanding and everything. One of the big marquee moments of it was, so my sister and I are very close to this day. And we were going to a comedy show in like downtown Denver. And we go out to get dinner right before that. And then, we're in the midst of conversation, then realize, oh shit, the door's just open. We're running late. And so we go to pay the bill, throw our jackets on, head out the door. And she has a half-finished glass of wine sitting on the table. And that was my question to her. It was like, well, wait, do you want to chug that before we leave? And she's like, no. Like, why would I chug wine? And it's like, oh. Because that was like my thought. It was like,
yeah, dude, you're going to waste that?
You're going to waste that? Yeah. And then my next thought was, well, can I chug it?
Yeah.
I didn't ask that, but that was the thought. And that was like one of the first mounting pieces of evidence that it like, okay, like my brain is wired a little bit different.
Yeah.
But so that was basically the start of it was, I left that program after 2 days, immediately got high again. And then immediately went right back to my dad's basement and kept doing the same stuff I was doing before.
Yeah.
And that's where it got worse and worse and worse and worse. Except at that point, I was on a colors line. Which is
so now you're testing.
Now I'm getting tested. But I just knew that I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Like, and so it's basically, and I still remember my color was blue raspberry. And I was like, isn't that more of a flavor than a color? But apparently that was my color. It was blue raspberry. And I call, just for people that don't know that, like you and I think they still do colored lines now.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
you pick up, you have a phone number, you call it every day.
It's typically a county connected thing, whether it's probation or like non-county testing or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. They do colors.
And they have a list of 10 colors that they'll call. And then if your color gets called, that means, all right, you got to come and pee into a cup like that day.
Before 4 o'clock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's where I was telling myself, it's like, okay, You know, it's like I was battening down the hatches for the apocalypse here.
Yeah.
It's like when that caller calls, then it's like all bets are
Done.
fucking off.
Yeah.
You know,
It's Russian roulette until then. And then when that happens, it's like, circle the wagons, guys.
yeah.
They're coming.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Where it's like I knew it's like, all right, the odds are it's going to be in the next week.
Mhm.
You know, they're not going to let me go more than like a week, 10 days without testing. And so I keep doing what I'm doing. While in the back of my mind, it's like, all right, there's those family heirlooms that I told myself I wouldn't take.
Mhm.
You know, that I can still have access to that checkbook. I know they're looking for me, but you know, and so
You're doing the math.
I'm doing the math.
Yeah.
I'm doing the math, and just kind of picking up. I hold my breath, pick up the phone, and call every day.
Mhm.
And then there's that day that Blue Raspberries called. You know,
How long was it?
it was about 10 days.
Okay.
So it was about 10 days in. So at this point, it's like I just turned 26. You know, this is like late September-ish, something like that. And
Wait, you have a birthday coming up.
I do.
Oh, yeah.
I do indeed. Yeah. I'm going to be fucking 40. God damn.
Wow.
I know, I'm an old man.
Dude, you are over the hill.
I know, but I'm okay with it. I mean, well, and that's like something, you know, side note with it. And it kind of plays into this. It's like I should have been dead 15 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's like, all right, aches and pains, middle age, like it's all like relative
Mm-hmm.
now.
And
you know,
it's like something to be grateful for once you're on the other side of it.
Mm-hmm. Because again, I was convinced that I was going to die.
Mhm.
Like it was fact. So it's like I'll run into this pedestrian bullshit now, you know, or my 6-year-old will tell me that she hates me, and it's like, all right, whatever.
Okay.
I'm like, okay, I'm not going to take that personally, you know, and or even just disappointment, lost jobs, lost relationships, personal injury. You know, I got this plantar fasciitis. My knees are buckling and shit. Maybe not buckling, but you know, I'm starting to feel it. You
Mhm.
know, but it's like, you know, the first thought is like, oh, that sucks. But then the next one is like, well, I should have been dead 20 years ago anyway. So it's like, all right, it's
Yeah.
okay. Like I can deal with a little bit of achy feet, you know?
Yeah.
But anyway, so like I had this rucksack that I'd packed up where it was like, it was the
your
most
bug out bag.
It was my bug out bag. This
That's
is like,
funny.
oh yeah. And it was like, it was bullshit because it's like, all right, I know when I'm using, I don't need food, but it's like, all right, I got some canned goods in there and like, you know, bottles of water. And
Like clean underwear and socks.
I didn't even worry about that. Oh, we'll get to that. I mean, that got pretty rugged there, but so it was basically the idea that, you know, the things I hadn't taken was, you know, the Luger handgun that, you know, my grandfather picked off of a German officer in World War II.
A Nazi.
Yeah, off of a Nazi. And then there was a stand-up double bass that I had gotten from my grandfather. And that he was a rugged alcoholic, you know, like you turn over the side of it, you see a patch on the bottom side of it, and that was because no, it's because he was trying to learn a bass line on it, and he was hammered, and he got upset, and he threw it down on the ground and stomped a hole in it.
Oh, nice. Yeah. So it was like a foot-shaped
hole
funny.
That he got patched up. And I still have that bass today. I think I showed that. Yeah, you know. But it wasn't practical for me to take this massive bass.
So you didn't sell the bass?
Didn't sell the bass.
Okay.
I left the bass behind because I was hitting the road. I needed to be quick on my feet.
Yeah.
You know?
But I could definitely see with the delusional mind that you've got it strapped to your back.
I hadn't thought about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about it. But yeah, it was basically this bug out bag, including a garden hose. So the idea was I'm going to take this Luger, write this last check to myself, steal my dad's 1999 Midnight Blue Saturn station wagon.
Here we go.
Oh, yeah. And then run for the hills, sell all this stuff, get as high as humanly possible, and then hook this garden hose up to the exhaust of the car and gas
Good
myself.
old, yeah.
That was my plan. And so I did just that. You know, I hit the road, stole the Luger, sold it, went to the Driftwood Motel in East Colfax.
It's amazing.
It's like to this day, I think it's still there. It's like the sketchiest little motel in the worst part of Denver, you know. And I just battened down the hatches. Yeah, no, I think I went through $3,000 worth of drugs in 2 days, like some ridiculous
How much did you
amount.
get for the Luger?
I think it was like $2,000 or something like that. You know, I ended up paying way more for it later on to get back.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so I ended up selling that, going and using, and then, you know, basically kept chickening out on pulling the trigger on the garden hose plan, and just basically kept struggling, leaning on friends, sleeping on couches, sleeping in this car. There would be times like, oh God, like where this is a few weeks after, I'm not picking up, my sister's sending me these emails of like, where in the fuck are you? Like, what is going on? We want to help, just ignoring. And so eventually it gets to that night of November 3rd, 2011. And what I would do is, you know, because I knew that this car was like marked for being stolen. And so it's like, all right, where can I find an unassuming spot to park, to sleep in the car, get high, and not have the police called on me? So I'd find these sleepy suburban neighborhoods, and I'd look for a spot where it's a long stretch of fence, where it's not right outside of somebody's house. And I'd park there, and then I'd put these like towels up in the window. So I'd just make this little smelly cocoon of drug use, you know, and then I would just get high and listen to Harry Potter audiobooks, or I would spend all the money that I'd scraped together hustling on drugs, and then I would steal a rotisserie chicken from the local grocery store. And I remember a few times just sitting in there just super high, Harry Potter going on in the background,
Greasy
fingers, just, you know, crying, just eating stolen rotisserie bird. So I'm crashed out in this car, and honestly, like, so that was late September. This is early November. My last shower was late September at that point, you know, and so it's like, it's rough. It was real rough. And I wake up to a tap on the window, and I pull down the towel, and there's a police officer, gun drawn, like, all right. And at this point, you know, so they throw me in the back of the car, and I'm in like Westminster, which is like 30-minute drive to the jail in Jefferson County, which is like right outside of Denver. And it was so bad. This is early November, and it's cold. Like, it was a unseasonably, like, extra cold early November, late at night, like 20s out. And we drove that whole 30 minutes with all 4 windows down because the smell was so bad. Oh God. And so they checked me in.
Checked you in.
They checked me in. Yeah. And they do the intake thing. And that was one of the first times, you know, because even still, for whatever reason, like when I went to that detox, I still downplayed it. You know, like I was using this amount, but I told them this amount. And honestly, that was probably part of me setting myself up for leaving, you know, because then, you know, they dosed. They helped me accordingly. With that, and it wasn't nearly enough. I mean, then even still, social detox, so they couldn't do a lot at that time. But that was the first time I was like, I laid it bare. It's like, this is what I've been doing. This is the actual amount that I've been using, you know, and I'd been doing Xanax and a bunch of benzos at the same time too, and a bunch of cocaine, bunch of heroin, bunch of alcohol. And I laid it bare to them, thinking like, okay, maybe they're going to actually help me, you know, and help me go through detox. And that's where, you know, that intake guy is like, all right, awesome. Well, next week is going to really suck for you. Next. And he passes on the paperwork. I'm like, okay. And so I sweated it out in the jailhouse cot, you know, and there's a big open pod, you know, with the caves, you know. So it was like, it's like 4 bunk beds kind of in these little nooks.
Yeah, the hobbit holes.
Yeah. And Jefferson County is a federal holding spot, you know, so people that are facing federal cases are mixed in with us little county guys. And I was put in minimum because I had this open bond and everything that I shit the bed on. But even still, you know, it was an open case, innocent until proven guilty. So they put me in with the minimums. And so it was rough, you know. It was full sweating out detox on this cot.
Was it the
you
full
know.
spectrum of symptoms, like the
Oh
shitting,
yeah,
puking?
everything, shaking.
Mm.
It was everything, you know. And but it was also easier than I thought it would have been.
Mm-hmm.
Where when you're in jail and there's nobody I could call. There wasn't a great Aunt Susan or somebody that, you know, like I had, like any person that could have possibly bailed me out were all people that I had lied to and stolen from or passed bullshit on before to, you know, scrape together another $40 for another day, you know. And so there's nobody I could call. I mean, I tried my sister, I tried my dad, and they were just having none of it, you know, which I'm grateful for now,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And so it's like, okay, you know, like, and it sucked, but it was immeasurably easier than doing it on my own with the idea of, all right, all I need to do is sell that and then I could feel better because I
Mm-hmm.
didn't have that option. So the mental part of it was almost removed and it was just boiled down to purely the physical part of detox, which sucked. And really now in hindsight, it was dangerous, you know, because the amount of drugs that I was using, especially the benzos.
Yeah.
You know, like
And the alcohol.
the benzos and the alcohol, that's the dangerous part. You feel like you're going to die off opiates, but you can actually die from detoxing off
Mm-hmm.
benzos and alcohol. And so I remember, and I still save it. I still have jailhouse notepad. Like I have this trunk at my house in my garage now that has all of the stuff from early recovery. So being in treatment, being in jail, all that stuff is in there. And it's a little jailhouse notepad where I was ticking off the hours that I was sober. Like
Hours.
the hours. Like counting, like it was a minute by minute thing going through it. And when I hit that point of 5 days, and it being and it's circled. It's like exclamation point, underline, because that was the longest sober I'd ever been in my entire life, sitting there in that jail cell, 5 days. And
by this time you're feeling a little better.
I'm feeling a little bit better, and it's starting to like, okay, I knew I thought I was fucked, you know, and I pretty much was, you know, but it was just being able to stare down that monster of detox was like, you know, a David and Goliath battle where it's like, okay, I got past that.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Did you have to go to arraignment while you were sick?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had to go through the whole process, meeting with
Chained up
attorneys,
people.
chained up, all that shit, you know, and
Still stinking like.
well, by then I'd been nudged towards taking a shower.
Okay.
You know? No, nudged. I mean, like, so I was in the bunk, and I'm just like, oh fuck. And dude comes up, takes off his sandal, and starts banging on the frame of this bunk, and it was something like, "How man, we can't be bunkies if you smell like a goat. Like, get in there and fucking shower. We're gonna have a problem." I'm like, okay. You know, so that was like the first shower in 6 weeks was that.
That's so funny. That's so funny.
So like after, you know, a couple of weeks, I still think, all right, I'm fucked. I'm going to prison for the rest of my life. I'm fucked. You know, I had no idea what the whole legal system was.
Which you got pretty close.
I got pretty close.
Yeah, I got really close.
It was 87 felony counts.
Yeah.
You know, because it was 2 felonies for every one of those checks that I written, and it ended up being 40 of them. And then 7 felonies for the car stuff, for the stolen stuff that was in the car. You know, they scraped the residue out of all the paraphernalia to make a felony,
a
felony possession charge, all of that stuff. And so at that point, I thought I was fucked. And they basically played it out like that. Like when you're initially talking with the prosecutors, you know, they play the game, you know, where they talk about it. And it was the reality of it. Like that district attorney had gotten elected on being harsh on identity theft. Like 2011 identity theft was like
the thing.
That was the thing. And it's like, oh, fuck. And so is that combined with everything else, they're like, no, we could send you to prison for 80 years. You know, the prosecutor looks me like dead in the eye and says that. I'm like, all right, well, my life's over.
So you guys meet with the prosecutor?
It was basically, it was myself, my public defender, and then
the prosecutor at a table.
At a table.
So behind, like out of the courtroom. And you're shackled.
chained to the table.
Yeah.
You know, and
they're in suits.
They're in suits.
And your dump truck of a public defender's going, yeah, I mean, I don't know what we can do.
Yeah. And there I'm in my like ill-fitting orange scrubs, basically, with this plunging neckline. It's like one size fits all. Yeah, and so really it was after a couple of weeks, like
with no shoes.
Yeah, well, they had like, this is even before Crocs. Now they got the Crocs.
Yeah.
Which I would have taken these shit sliders.
Yeah.
You know, the Bob Barker sliders.
Yeah. Yeah, the clear plastic.
Yeah. And so after a couple of weeks when like the fog starts to lift, you know, I started becoming just like the unofficial ambassador to all of the people that were coming in and going through withdrawal, you know? So I started using, you know, connections I made in there because I had no money on the books at all. But I would trade things or I would gamble with people and then win candy bars and soups and shit like that. You know, so I'm scraping up from nothing. And I would save a couple of these candy bars for people that were detoxing, you know, and I would be the person that I'd bring them an extra blanket, give them a candy bar, sit and talk with them, spend time with them while they were going through that detox.
So you're doing the Synanon, the original Synanon
pretty much
theory. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, I just became like, and it was like I stumbled upon service work while I was in there and helping another person that was going through the same thing that I'd gone through, you know.
And what were you getting out of it?
Well, it was, you know, a lot of it was a way of dissociating.
Okay.
Of not thinking about where I was and how screwed I was. And the other part of it was, you know, that's what I originally went to school for. You know, that's like when I was a teenager or like late teens before drugs and alcohol really took a hold of me, you know, like health and human services is what I always wanted to do. You know, like this was like the path. And I'd noticed that from when I was a little kid. You know, listening to other people, helping other people is something I always wanted to do. And so it was basically, I was like kind of subconsciously drifting back to my roots of what I wanted to do, you know? And then cut to a couple of months later, the public defender starts bringing up the possibility of a deal of like, okay, like they're going to probably give you one chance here to go to a long-term treatment program and do that instead of going to prison. But, you know, and then they educate me on what a deferred sentence is and everything, where it's basically I got this hammer hanging over me of these felony counts, and they give me this laundry list of things that you can do. And then if you fuck up on any of these, the hammer comes smashing down, you get the felonies, go to prison, you know. And so it's 5 years of probation, $37,000 of restitution. And then successfully completing this 2-year-long therapeutic community. And at that point, I was like, all right, sign me up. Like, yeah, I'll do all this stuff. Like, please get me the fuck out of here. And, you know, in talking with my public defender, I'm like, all right, I need a week. I need a week between here and going to jail or going to Stout Street so I can get my affairs in order. You know, I have so much stuff going on here. You know, I just got to prepare for this 2-year program. And in reality, I didn't have shit going on.
Yeah. What do you think you were trying to do?
I was trying to get high.
Okay.
I was trying to have that one, like, that sweet, that fond farewell.
Yeah, the bon voyage.
Yeah, bon voyage heroin. It's been great. But I'm just very grateful they did not let me do that. You know, where
they do the whole warm handoff. Well, they're not so warm.
They did door to door. I mean, it was like I came into jail with like the stinky clothes on my back. And, you know, it was
put you back
in them stinky clothes and ship you off to treatment. And it was just door to door, you know. And so I get there and my hair is all long and, you know, I smell like a goat again.
Yeah. Do they shave your head when you get to Stout Street?
Yeah. That was like the first thing. So they had me do all the paperwork.
Wait, do you guys have barbers there too?
No, I mean, it's just basically dude with clippers.
Okay, no. So in Delancey Street, which was in also the original Synanon, they have, it's called a barber. They cut your hair, like they actually cut your hair, but then that's also like the guy that's in charge of you, and you call him your barber through the whole program.
That's interesting.
And like when they have to, like, there's a whole lingo behind it where it's like when they scold you, it's called giving you a shave. And like there's like the whole lingo around.
There's all these metaphors
Mm-hmm.
around being a barber.
Yeah.
Well, there it would be like it's just someone who's somewhat decent at cutting hair.
Okay.
Of like, hey, there's a rented out pair of clippers. Can you try? Because they would have all kinds of crazy rules around it. And that was one of the rules, that you had to be there a year to not have a haircut that was uniformly all the same length, right? So you could get a buzz cut. Like that was about any kind of a fade. It was one of those just weird things. Any kind of facial hair. So like you had to be 8 months in order to grow a mustache. And so everybody, it was like a rite of passage when you're there.
Did they measure the sideburns and all that?
They measure all that shit.
Yeah.
So they pair me up. So they have me go in and get my first like decent meal in a while. And it was like, I'd stumbled upon Shangri-La. I was like so grateful to not be in jail and have an actual real meal of food. Like it was crazy. And then I go get my head shaved and then dive in, and I mean, their orientation is 30 days.
That's it?
Yeah, it's 30.
Okay. Okay. Well, because at Delancey Street, it's up to 6 months.
Wow.
And it's you're literally scrubbing walls. You know.
Oh yeah, and you're like a second-class citizen.
Very much so. They're not allowed to talk. You're not allowed to talk to them.
Yeah.
They could talk to you. They can, if they grace you with acknowledging you. Right?
It was that. It was because Stout Street was based off of Delancey.
Yeah.
Delancey influenced Stout Street.
Yeah, he actually went to Delancey Street. Right?
Yeah,
and then basically ripped the whole book.
Off, and then did it in Colorado. And so it was basically its orientation is set to be 30 days, and you have to be able to memorize and take a test on this resident handbook and recite back a bunch of shit on it in order to finish orientation.
Yeah, it's
and
the
until
first step
then,
of the brainwashing.
Oh yeah. Well, like until then you can't like touch a doorknob. That was another one of them. Like if you touch that doorknob,
and is that the whole you got to have a buddy with you? That's why.
Yeah, and you have to. Well, because even still, if you're in orientation, you can't touch a doorknob. And they're trying to program it of like not walking out the door. So you have to be with somebody that's an actual resident.
Man,
and
that shit works so well too.
It's like, I saw plenty of people touch that doorknob.
Yeah. Oh, dude,
like get the fuck out of there.
So at Delancey Street, it was like we were all there facing life, or like I was 33 years, and we were all so scared that we were going to get kicked out because we all knew like they kick people out here.
Yeah,
they do not mess around.
Oh yeah,
and so we did not. It wasn't don't touch doorknobs, but it was basically that level of we are so scared to get kicked out. Like we would not talk to anybody. Like when people would walk down the hall, like we would avert our eyes and shit like that. It's like it's crazy.
Well, and those were like honestly the smart ones were the ones that did that. Because like the majority of the people there were facing prison, were facing these big consequences. But then you'd have like 30-40% of people that just walked in.
Really?
Yeah.
Just not knowing what it was.
Well, it's like
last
resort.
Yeah.
And it's like, especially back then, like insurance didn't really cover treatment.
Right.
And like there wasn't really an option. And then even still, like the big change today is that Medicaid, you have options nowadays. Now it's probably going to be changing here as things progress.
Yeah, I mean, but they've been kind of saying that for a couple of years, right?
Well, it's like because if you don't have Medicaid even, and say you're disqualified for that because you're not doing the paperwork or you're not doing the checking the boxes, then your other option is buying a policy off the exchange. But if you're completely flat broke and you have no family, they're going to help you pay for that, then you're just completely uninsured.
Yeah.
And that's where a program like Delancey, like Stout Street, that was their bread and butter.
Yeah.
So those people, that 40% or whatever, were all people that had just no insurance whatsoever, no options. And it's like, okay, I guess I'll do this.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was the same kind of thing where it was just, you memorize this book, you stay in threes, like you have to go with someone everywhere. There's just a shitload of extra rules. There's like and in this book was like 700 and some odd written rules. And then
there's
the unwritten rules,
yeah.
the ones that you just have to figure out by breaking.
Yeah.
And then how it was basically like a tab. Like this is the analogy I've used before, where it's like, all right, you're working 6 days a week or whatever, and you're building up a tab of consequences over the course of that 6 days, and they're stacking up, and then you have 1 day a week where you're not working. You have to pay that tab by doing the consequences. Anything that's left over gets doubled for the next week. So it's like, and like the most popular one, like they had sayings, where you walk through a door and then you say a motto type of a thing, and it's often embarrassing. Like I had one saying the whole time I was there, and it always started with, excuse me, family. And then it ended with "please help me" at the end. And then the middle part was just like fucking random weird shit that like it was your peers that are holding you accountable. So like when they would come up with something and write it on there as a suggestion for that, because a saying is a big old pain. It's every time you walk through a door frame. And you don't even realize how many door frames you walk through on a huge ass building every day. So you'd be saying that thing 200 times a day, and I had him one time. And it was, excuse me, family, my program's stale. I'm in a rut, but I'm going to change. I'll tell you what. Please help me. And I did that for like a month.
So do you guys get hours?
Yeah. So it was hours on the bench was the most common one.
Okay.
And that's the one thing I still remember from that resident handbook of the memorize. They would have you memorize each of the different each of the different therapeutic tools, they called them. And so the bench, a bench is a therapeutic tool used to help one reflect on past, present, and future behaviors. I don't remember any of the other ones, but that's one that I still remember. And it was basically a church pew.
Yeah,
hard wood church pew.
Yes.
That you would. And then so it's like you walk down the hall with your shoe untied. That's 3 hours.
Yeah.
You say a curse word is 5 hours.
Oh my gosh.
It's like, God damn. Like, or like there's so many different rules. And so it's like, it's aimed for even like the most well-behaved, motivated person is going to have 10 hours by the end of each week, and if you're fucking off and just like rebelling against it, then it's like, you can get 30 hours on that thing.
So at what point do you get a contract?
So it was anytime over 10 hours.
Yeah.
So over 10 hours, and then the work contract.
Is there a minimum contract?
I think the minimum of it was like a week.
Dude, it was 30 days.
Good God.
It was a 30-day contract.
Wow.
And you wore like a sign around your neck, and you stayed in the kitchen. You did the whole facility's dishes.
Yeah.
For all day, and then at night you had to scrub walls.
That was basically, it was similar, but you like, because they call it accumulation. So you had an accumulated badge. So that's what they would call it, a badge there. So because you get this red badge that has your name on it. And so if you have over 10 hours, then you go over to a badge until you can pay that tab off, which is oftentimes like the next week.
Yeah.
Or if you break a bigger rule, then they call it like a 5 and 2. So it's 5 hours on the bench, 2 weeks of a work contract. Or they had 5 and 2, and I don't remember, 10 and 4, and like all these other.
I think I've asked you this, but
rules.
did they have scandals?
Scandals?
Yeah.
Like what?
Okay, so like my first week, the night I got there, a scandal broke out. And it was like the front desk guy.
So it's like drama, and then it just reverberates out.
Yeah. And it always ends up where it's like, when I got there were 64 people there. And it always ends up where it's like the scandal has like an epicenter, and everybody's contracted up. So when this person basically gets busted, they start telling on everybody.
Oh yeah. And they would call those break-offs.
Oh, okay.
And they would have that as a specific special thing that they would do, where if you really fucked up, they would have you sit in a room and give you a blank piece of paper, and you got to write down every person that you broke a rule with.
Yeah, it was debriefing. Yeah,
and then it would cascade out from there. Yeah. So if somebody was named on that, then they come in and then they write their list, and they come in.
The council that did that to you, did that have a name?
I don't even remember, but I think it was staff that would initiate
Yeah,
that.
yeah. But so ours, there was like a council that was in charge of doing that, and they were called the Vatican.
The Vatican. It was a similar thing, and then that would be a cascading, like a clusterfuck, because like, the first 6 months I was there, I worked at a sawmill, so it was like hard fucking work, and I did 10-hour days at least, not counting an hour driving there, hour driving back, and I'd come back just fucking sweaty and disgusting, and I'd see 10 people sitting on the bench there in the lobby all writing a list. Like, oh shit, it's going down. And that would happen regularly because you wouldn't even know. Like, you break rules all the time without even thinking about it, and so then it would just be this reverberating. Dominoes would go flying, and then all of a sudden half the house is on a work contract. And on that work contract, because basically what you would do is you'd still have your 9-to-5 job, but then you'd have to be down on the floor at like 5 a.m. and then you're scrubbing the floors. They do the whole floor. I think they got rid of this now, where you do the floor with the toothbrush. Because a lot of times people just fuck off. Like, I would do that too. I just pick a real prime spot where I could people watch and then just slowly scrub.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dude, so it was you're on the floor at 4:30 if you're on a contract, but you lose your job too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it was like people jockey for jobs.
Yeah.
And there's
they wouldn't have you lose your job. So you'd do it from 5 in the morning until you leave for your job, and then you act like a normal human over the course of the day.
Yeah, no.
And then you come back, dive right back into it, do that until bedtime.
If you're on a contract at Delancey Street, you cannot talk to anybody, so you can't go to your job. And so if it's a month contract, if you get, and it's called passing. Was there passing? So
I don't think so.
There was like the 4 Ps, right? It was like you pull them up, you pass on them, you play the game in the room, and then you eat pizza together. It was like this whole thing.
Is this where your love of pizza comes from?
No, that actually, no. I actually didn't eat any of that pizza.
Did it almost ruin pizza for you?
I didn't have to. So it was all donated.
Oh, yeah.
So it was like,
shit pizza.
And they would like put it in the fridge for days.
Yeah.
And then they would pull off the oldest one.
Oh man, that donated food. Dude. Like, that was so rough. Like, I remember one time, so I was because they would have you like move pallets. They would have like those big ass construction site ones that are like blue, that are just heavy as shit. They're like 100 pounds each. And there would be a mountain of them in one corner of the parking lot. And it's like you're in the July sun, and you got to move this mountain of pallets from this side of the parking lot to that part.
Totally arbitrary.
Totally arbitrary, just like dumb, no fucking reason whatsoever. And it's just work for work's sake. And so I'm out there. I do that in the hot sun for 6 hours or something. And I'm just like fucking sweating bullets. And so I come into the kitchen. All they have in the fridge is milk. I'm like, all right, fuck it. So I grab
Is
a little
it donated?
Donated milk. Yeah. Like the little like True Moo.
Yes. And how often were they bad?
Oh, well, yeah. Often. And so I get to it, like, I'm just so thirsty because I just been out there sweating in the sun. I crack one open, just start pounding it, and then realize that it's sour halfway through it. And I remember I pulled it away from my mouth, and there was a slime trail. Oh, it was that bad. From my mouth to the carton, that scarred me for a while.
Yeah. When we had milk donations, which was like once a week, like it would be somebody's job to smell it.
That's
right. And it was still like
job.
It was like,
I wish we'd had that.
It was still like days past the expiration date.
Yeah.
And it would be like, okay, well, this is probably, and they would try to like arrange it so that you're pulling the ones that are gonna go bad first.
Right.
And it was like, oh yeah, this. And sometimes we get it as like the person who's running the donations, it's not a refrigerated truck.
Yeah.
And they're driving all over LA County, which is massive.
Yeah.
And they get the milk first, and it's like underneath everything,
baking in the sun.
Dude, so
it's the same kind of thing. I mean, so it's like, you have the work contracts, you'd have the hour. Like the longest I ever did was 17 hours in one sitting. So it's from 5:30 in the morning till 10:30 at night, just sitting there on that church pew.
That is so funny because like for our hours, you scrubbed it. Like there was no downtime, and if you had hours, you had an obligation to be on the floor before everybody else. So there was like this whole, So I got a total, and I got my first hours because there's during Christmas mode. Everybody's out of the facility. They're all at Christmas tree lots and like doing random stuff.
Yeah.
And it's like me, my best friend at the time, who's now passed away because he overdosed. But and I think one guy, like one additional guy that was there at the front desk. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, everybody's gone for hours. Like, this is great. We had a full movie theater in it, like a full screen set.
Full screen movie theater. Wow.
And I'm like, I'm gonna go down there and I'm gonna watch Inception. and everybody's
a good movie. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was Shutter Island.
Oh, Shutter Island.
It was Shutter Island.
All right.
And
that's a good movie too.
And Ryan goes, dude, don't do it. They're gonna come back.
Yeah, and then you'll be fucked.
And you're gonna get caught. And I was like, you know what? And I ended up leaving January 7th. This was December 20th, somewhere like right before Christmas. And I'm already like, you know what? I'm okay with that. Like, I'm okay with getting in trouble at this point.
You want to see that movie so bad.
I mean, dude, it was like, I was working 16-hour days I worked 16 to, it was like 16, 17, 18-hour days for 67 days straight.
Yeah.
Like straight, no weekends. And I was like, I would much rather do this than do what the fuck they're doing up there, you know?
Yeah.
So I was like, I just don't care at this point. And went down there, and of course the guy comes down, and you've got to go to the ballroom. It is so far out of the way. Like, so in my head, I'm like, he's not going to come down here.
All right.
Nobody's going to come down here. Like, nobody does come down here.
I'm sure they did, right?
Yeah. And he comes down there and he flips the light on. And he's like, okay. And I was like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
And just the fear.
What do I do now? Yeah. And then immediately it's like, dude, I have all this time over my head. Like, are they going to kick me out? And I'm like,
yeah.
And I'm like, do I finish watching the movie or not?
Right.
And I'm like,
sure it ruined the movie. It's like, how do you
I was like, okay, I'm just going to go back to work. So I won't go back to work. And everybody comes back. It's like 8:00 at night. Christmas mode is like, they made $10 million in 30 days.
Wow.
Just doing so much
trees and lights and
Christmas trees, lights, decorating. Yeah. They did like the city's decoration for LA County. Like,
wow.
So we went to like every skyscraper downtown and decorated it.
Wow.
But everybody comes back, and immediately Matt to the bench, right? They send like a gopher to find you. And it's like, hey, Matt, you got to go to the bench.
It's this whole protocol. Remember, like they would follow behind you.
Yeah. With like the radio.
So it's like, Scott is on the bench. All bench rules are in effect.
Yeah.
Scott is on, and you're just walking there. Just like everybody's just staring at you.
You know, it's like in the Green Mile, dead man walking.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
And so I got 4 hours. That was my only like real violation. But I got 4 hours of everybody gets dishes, but you're really scrubbing walls.
Yeah.
And you are literally scrubbing walls, and if you take your eyes off the wall, like, you can get in trouble.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean,
and if you talk to anybody while you're on dishes, you get in trouble.
Oh, yeah. They have the same thing with the work contract. I mean, it almost feels like, because in ways, like, Stout Street was just like a baby version of that in a lot of ways. Like, I mean, it had its own weird foible. Because now it's like, all right, I've been working in treatment for 15 years.
Yeah.
Over 10 years now on this. And it's like, and knowing what actual treatment is like versus that. It's like, because I could sit here and riff with you on it, and it'd be like, oh, yeah, that's normal.
Yeah.
Any other person listening would be like, what in the fuck?
Yeah.
So that's going to rehab? And it's like, all right, no, that's not going to rehab.
Right, yeah.
Like, because this is
a specific thing.
Such a weird little niche of treatment that's out there that a lot of people don't even know is a thing.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's still, because Stout Street's still there.
Yeah.
And like they've changed a bit since then. They've softened in certain areas. They've removed certain parts of this. Like, I had heard they don't let you do more than 12 hours sitting on the bench in one sitting now.
Okay. They got with the science.
They got with they still, well, that place is, those types of programs are all about that loyalty. That, like, all right, I'm sober today. It worked for me, so I have a duty to do this same shit for other people.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, it doesn't really fucking work that way. And then especially, like, now that we understand trauma, and understand that, like, the person that has been, beaten or neglected or yelled at, like, are they actually going to respond to being yelled at by someone
In a good way?
in a good way? Like, no, they'll dissociate.
Yeah.
And they're great at that. Like, they don't get shit from getting yelled at.
Yeah.
If anything, it just makes things worse, right?
You guys had
So it's
games,
like,
right?
yeah, we had games.
Okay, so yeah,
So it's
those
the same.
situations are terrible for people like
Oh,
that.
yeah, and it's the same kind of shit. It's just like, it's just sitting in a room and having a group of people yell at you.
Yeah,
And think
and
of,
make
like, the
shit up
most
about you.
Oh, yeah, make shit up, just saying, like, the most horrible things that
Mhm.
they can imagine, oftentimes, like, laughing, So,
Yeah.
like, their buddies, you're sitting there and just trying to think of what's the most horrible things I could say to this
Yeah.
person?
Yeah, and we called it something. Oh, it was playing the game,
Yeah,
right?
it's playing the game, yeah.
People had, like, strategies for playing the game, and it was like, I'm literally gonna make shit up, and then, of course, like, after the games are over, the Vatican will pull you in to talk to you about what was said.
Wow.
As if you did it.
Yeah.
And it's like, no. And then they pit people against each other. It turns into
Crazy.
Dude, it was
It
insane.
is so crazy. I mean, and like, because now thinking back on it, I'm grateful that I was given an opportunity.
For sure.
Because it's like, all right, because the judge, when he was sentencing, so he's like, and this is just burned into my head. So he's like, because Stout Street had been around since like 1976, and he's like, I've been sitting on this bench for over 30 years, and I've sent hundreds of people to the Stout Street Foundation program before. Not one of them have ever successfully completed.
They told me the same shit.
Yeah, good luck to you, sir. And
yeah.
like, oh fuck.
When I told my public defender, so this is what happened. I had a friend who had killed 2 people, and went to Delancey Street and got out of a life sentence. And I ended up locked up with him. He was locked up again. And he always told me, if your back's ever up against the wall, like really in a serious way, you can go to Delancey Street. And I never had a court-ordered program because my first time going to jail, I got work furlough. It was like a year of work furlough.
Like work release.
Yeah.
Like
well, you could live at a facility and you work.
Yeah.
And then like there's like a bunch of oversight and stuff. I get to the facility. My dad drives me an hour to the facility. And I remember like giving him a hug and like telling him I'll talk to him on the weekend or something.
Yeah.
I get there, I'm filling out the paperwork, and I'm like looking at what's going on. It's like people are just free to go. There's somebody that I used to buy drugs from that lives like 3 blocks away.
Yeah.
I'm watching all this and I'm going, I literally was like, you know what? I can do a year of this, or I can do 3 months in jail.
Yeah.
I was
Might as
like,
well just do 3 months.
I'm just going to go do 3 months in jail. And I told the lady at the front desk, like, hey, can you have the cops come pick me up?
Yeah.
And they direct line to the sheriff's office,
Good
you know,
hair.
like, yeah. She was like, okay, just go sit over there. And it's like, this cop like walks in and he's like, are you the one that's going? I was like, yeah. Yeah, for sure. I'm going.
Just do 3 months of that. What was the thought behind that? Was it like, I'm going to get myself in trouble here?
Yeah. Oh, I was fully aware. So at the time, you know, I'm 18 years old and I was still in that place where it's like, I still wanted the appearance of like, not being a total fuck up to my dad.
So still just a lot of fear.
Yeah. And I thought that like, also hadn't accepted that I was an addict. Also wanted to hide a lot of things from my parents still. And so I figured that this would be the path of least resistance.
Right.
And so
just get it out of the way.
Get it out of the way and then just go back like, you know, it's like the going into treatment. I'm going to go to treatment for 28 days and come out a different
man. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, all right.
Little did I know, I would go to jail in San Diego County and come out with 10 times more connects.
Yeah.
Way more of a habit. Like, and it was like.
It's amazing that community in jail. Like, because I felt that. because I was in there for 4 months when I was going to treatment, and you go out there with like all these numbers and connects and like friendships.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, we're gonna keep in touch, man.
Yeah.
And it's like,
yeah.
I didn't talk to, and thankfully, I didn't talk to any one of them ever again. And,
I can't
you
say
know,
that. You
yeah.
know, like
well, I think if I had, then I wouldn't be where I am today.
maybe,
You know,
maybe, but
like,
I'm here, right?
well,
So
no, that's
maybe you
true.
would be.
It's true. Well, it's also, it's like, maybe I'd be where I am today, but it would be 10
Different.
years from now.
Yeah.
You know, like,
yeah.
because that temptation was strong. It's not a lockdown facility. It's not like the doors are open.
Oh, at Stout Street?
Stout Street.
Yeah.
Yeah, the doors are open the whole fucking time, you know? And then what complicated it, so, you know, I was sentenced there, but they had a mix-up in the paperwork where they said 30 days. So they said successfully complete 30 days of the Stout Street Foundation program instead of successfully complete the Stout Street Foundation program, which was an administrative fuck-up on their end.
Yeah.
And so I'm in there a couple of months, and my probation officer tells me that it's like, you know, according to this, you only have to be there for 30 days. So if you don't want to be there, don't be there. And it's like,
so I actually have a story about this.
Well, that was like the hard part, because it's like, then it's, and that's where I first started, you know, like playing the tape.
Yeah.
Of like, all right, if I do leave, what will that mean?
So you decided to stay.
I decided to stay.
Wow.
I decided to stay and finish the whole thing, because it was like, what am I going to do? All right, the only person that would take me in would be my dad. And it's like, I've been there, the Mickey 40s, you know, flop down mattress in the unfinished basement. I could go back to that. And my fear of going back to the place outweighed the discomfort of staying.
Wow.
And so I stayed.
It's actually saying a lot, like knowing what goes on there. That's actually saying a lot.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I found out, well, I didn't find out, but because this was like a big case, right? Bank robbery, like all this stuff going on. And they were like, so I made sure that I was like reading what the language of the deal was. And the deal actually said 3 years at a long-term residential. It didn't say 3 years at Delancey Street.
A specific one. So it was like, all right, do I gotta stay here?
Well, this is what happened. My daughter was born on July 4th. I got there June 12th. My daughter was born July 4th, and they didn't even tell me.
Wow.
Right? And then I was getting letters from my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife, and she was like sending me pictures of my daughter, and they wouldn't even tell me I was getting them.
This is at Delancey?
Yeah, because I didn't qualify to have mail. You can't get mail until you're there for like 18 months. Jeez. And my buddy at the front desk, who I still talk to,
even for your kid being born,
nothing.
That's nuts.
Nothing. And I mean, think about it, because they're like, we don't want him to leave.
You don't want to leave, but it's like, you got to know your kid was like born soon.
Yeah.
Like, well, what's going on here?
And so my buddy was like giving me the mail. Risking his program. He had like 12 years over his head or something. He was risking his program to give me the letters, right? And
that's the right thing to do.
Yeah. I mean, at that point, it's like you're evaluating, like, am I still a human, or am I like...
Well, it's like, all right, so I understand, all right, you don't want the letter. They don't want you to have the letters because it'll make you homesick and make you want to leave.
Yeah.
But it's like, you know, you got a daughter coming.
Yeah.
And it's like the lack of updates is motivation.
For sure. So my buddy's like giving me these, he gives me this card with like, it was a Christmas card with the pictures. And when I got caught in the movie theater, I was down there thinking, like, really weighing the options, because I was like, okay, it doesn't actually say Delancey Street.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you could
go to another spot,
find somewhere else to go.
Right.
And it was just like a culmination of things, but I made that decision because here at Delancey Street, if you go outside of the front door without permission, it's a walkout.
Yeah.
Like, even if you're not leaving,
right,
you just go outside. If you go outside, you walked out and you have to restart.
And they do the same thing. They do the same thing where they call it a split T.
A split T. Yeah. And Ryan was there with me, and I just had this long conversation with him where it's like, I'm weighing my options right now. Delancey Street was so bad. I was like, I'd rather take my chances and maybe end up in prison than stay here.
Yeah.
But I had it in my head. I'm like, I'm going to do this right, but I'm going to go back to San Diego and find somewhere to finish this.
Yeah.
I mean, because I was there for, I think, 7 months total. Because because I got there in June. I got there like the middle of June, and I left January 7th. So yeah, like 7 months.
Wow.
And I had already progressed out of the first stage and into the second stage, so I was allowed to talk to people now and like. But I remember like making these decisions. I was so brainwashed by then, like making these decisions. I felt so crazy leaving.
Yeah.
But
It's
then
hard.
yeah,
It becomes almost like a place of safety,
it does.
because
It
it's
does.
familiar. It's like Brooks from Shawshank Redemption,
Yeah, he fucking hung himself. Yeah.
It's like, and it's like that's comfort because like, because like the program had like 120, 140 people there at any given
Okay.
time. It's like a
Decent.
big
Yeah.
spot, and they had this roster where it was basically whoever's been there the longest is number one.
Of course.
Brand spanking new is number 140.
Mm-hmm.
And like you'd watch yourself slowly move up this ranking.
Yeah.
And it was impossible not to equate my worth as a human being is where I am on this list.
Yes.
And you're slowly over the course of a freaking year, because it's 18 months there in residential and then 6 months of doing like their step down sober living.
Man, that's so crazy.
And so then it's like 18 months, you're slowly watching your number go up, and you finally make it to that place where you're at the top of the list and you move on to sober living.
Wait, so you made it to number 1 at one point?
Yeah, you make it to number 1.
That is so crazy.
And then it's like, all right, that's usually like within a week of like, all right, you're moving on to sober living, like the next phase.
Oh, wow.
And then you complete that, you go out into the workforce, into the real life. You're actually like getting to keep the money that you get from your job at that point. You still got to do all kinds of shit, but it's like, it's different.
Yeah.
And that was, like reacclimating to society after that, of like, because you become the king of this weird little island.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're riding a public bus and nobody gives a shit that you just finished a long-term treatment program.
Yeah.
And see, and so you'd see that so often with people where it's like they keep coming back to like volunteer and spend time.
That's funny.
At the program, because like their ego is like, all right, I'm a big deal here.
Yeah.
I'm not shit when I'm riding that public bus.
Yeah.
But here I'm a big deal.
I went to the winter symposium and I met like 3 people that were graduates and working at Stout Street. And they were like, and it was so funny, like hearing them talk. And I was like, okay, I remember this,
Well, it's just, and that was the realization I had, because they offered me a job at the end. And it's like, I got to get the fuck out of here, and start living a different life. And I saw that pattern with other people where they'd be 5 years sober and they're still coming there to yell at people, and like,
what's crazy?
And it's like, okay.
At Delancey Street, it's a minimum. There is no maximum, right? So you never hit the top because the guy that was running the facility had been there for 11 years.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And then he actually, they were doing exchange. There was an exchange program where you could go to other, because there's 9 facilities in the United States.
Wow.
And they have exchange programs where you can go to other facilities. And at headquarters in San Francisco, the people who are actually running the program have been in the program for 40 plus years.
That's nuts.
So there is no like, if you come in 2021, you're never gonna be number 1.
Wow.
And there is like a leaderboard where everybody is fully aware of.
Yeah, that's your ranking.
Yeah, everybody's fully aware of like, but it's also, they do it across the organization too. So you see that it's like
all 9 locations, like, where am I sitting?
Yeah. And it's like, you see like the first 200 names on there. It's like, they've all been there for 10 plus years.
Yeah, that's nuts. No, because there it's like you finish after. So it's 2 years minimum. Like, so if you really fuck up at sober living, or they used to have it as like a thing where even if you didn't check these certain boxes, you couldn't go on to the sober living part of it. I can't remember what they call it. Aftercare. Aftercare. And so they used to say, and they would always say 2 to 3 year program, but in reality, for 95%, it's 2 years. Because you really got to fuck up bad.
So they don't have like a recommitment process?
They do.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's like if you relapse, like if you use again.
Oh, that's it?
So, well, it's that. And then, I don't even remember. I think like if somebody was really struggling, or they get fired from their job in sober living and they're not able to make rent or something, then they can bring them back.
Do they own the place that you guys go to?
Yeah. So they own this. It was this big house. It's off of Vine and Colfax in East Denver. So it's like you're lumped into the shit. I remember my first day there.
Vine and Colfax.
So it's right by like the Lions Lair, like East High School, kind of Congress Park.
That's not like the greatest area, right?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's not horrible. Like the farther east you go, the shittier it gets.
Worse, yeah.
But like it's not great.
Mm-hmm.
And I my first night there, I get there and then just walking down the street, like you feel like
by yourself.
You're like, fuck, I'm going to get like tackled here anyway. Because it is so ingrained into you to like be out and about in society is a massive breaking of the rules. And it took a while to shake that. So I'm walking, there's a Walgreens 2 blocks down the street and I was going to go get a soda for like my first free soda, And I come around the corner and there's a homeless dude just peeing onto Colfax. Like not onto the corner, like behind a dumpster, just straight out
onto the street,
on into traffic. And that was like, okay, like here I am.
Yeah.
That was my welcome to the sober living, the aftercare house.
Dude, when I left Delancey Street, there was a 3-day period where I was trying desperate. The first thing I did, called my PO. And my PO at the time, this is where everybody from Compton goes to probation.
Wow.
So I was like this.
It's pretty hardcore
anomaly for this person, right? It's like you're at Delancey Street.
Yeah, you were like his favorite person. Then.
It was a woman. And she was like, through our conversation, she was like, "Wow, like you." And I'm going every month, and this is the only person outside of Delancey Street that I can talk to.
Yeah,
that's it.
And then, like, did she say, like, what in the fuck?
Yeah. And I'm trying to explain to her, like, I'm like, dude, I don't know what's going on.
It becomes
here.
like a society. It's like, it's its own little ecosystem.
For sure.
Like, it's got its own
self-sustaining.
You have these different, like, positions of structure.
Yeah.
That people have.
Positions of power.
Yeah.
And that power is attainable by anybody.
Yeah.
And so there's, like, currency involved and, like.
Yeah.
There's,
like. Its own little society.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And it's, look, when you're in the shit, it's hard to like kind of see the forest through the trees.
Right.
When you're out of it, you're like, what did I just experience?
All right. Right.
So when I left, there was 3 days where I was like trying to get into, I was making calls down to San Diego, trying to get into programs. Mm-hmm. Nobody offered the amount of time. I needed 26 more months in a program. So nobody could
do that long.
No. And so there are other really long-term programs in LA County. So I'm like, floating around. So I ended up sleeping in one of the moving trucks at Delancey Street because there's moving blankets in there, and it's January. It's cold.
Yeah.
In people don't realize it. Like in Southern California, it gets cold. It's semi-desert and deserts some places.
Yeah.
It's cold. So I'm like sleeping in the back of the Delancey Street moving truck, like hoping I don't get caught. And then one of the people there had a cell phone. So I would call him and he would like sneak me in because he had night duty.
Yeah.
Like at the front desk. He would like sneak me down into the ballroom and like let me sleep in there.
Wow.
And finally like got the call that like a program in San Diego was willing to make an exception and do this like special thing for me.
Wow. And let you stay longer than they would have usually?
Yes, but there was like stipulations and like things had to be done. And then I ended up, this is how I got into working in treatment, was I ended up becoming staff there. And it was like this whole process and it was a faith-based program and me and my relationship with the religion, and it's like
was it as like nutty
No
community?
No.
So it's a way.
No.
So it was a good move.
No. Yeah, it was a great move because I then got to spend the weekends with my family, with my daughter and my girlfriend.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
And I was put in charge of one of the only money making machines at the program.
Mm-hmm.
So we were cutting fire line and doing fire mitigation.
Cool.
And so I was like, I loved it. I was super successful.
Yeah.
There, you know.
Yeah. So that was a seminal moment for you.
Very, very pivotal, and like not just the direction that I was going to go for the rest of my life, but like pivotal in that like I finally could see a light at the end of the tunnel
Right.
of this because at the time, my first day at Delancey Street, it's like, I have to do 3 years of this and then an additional 3 years of probation. And I still have all this time. And for my deal, I took 2 strikes. 2 strikes were mine.
Yeah.
And they were holding a strike in 10 years over my head. And they said, like the judge said, we're going to give you this chance to straighten your life up. You've never had a court mandated program. We're going to give you this chance to save your life. But if you don't,
yeah, you're fucked.
We're going to give you this 10. You're taking that on the chin, but we're going to give you your third strike and we're going to try to give you 25 to life.
Oh my God.
And I was like,
wow.
Dude, so when I was at Delancey Street, I was like walking on eggshells.
Yeah, you had high stakes.
Dude.
Your life was depending
So
on
when I took that chance with leaving, I made sure, and I told my probation officer, because I already had all this time to do at Delancey Street anyway. I was like, I've only been here for 6 months, 7 months, 6.5 months, something like that. I was like, listen, I will go back right now. I'm literally at the corner. I will go back right now if you tell me to go back, or I will find another program to satisfy the obligations.
Yeah.
And she was like, after these months of like talking with her and like really getting to like realize like, oh, this isn't like the best place for this kid probably. And I'm not a kid, but like this probably isn't the best place. She was like, if you are not in a program in the next X amount of time, then go back to Delancey Street.
Yeah. And she was able to work with you.
That's yeah. And so when I get to San Diego, I still have to check into probation though.
Yeah.
So I had to work all this out with the program, and it was like, and it all ended up working out for like the best.
Sounds like it. That sounds like
took a big chance leaving that place.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and because even still, like Delancey sounds like, because like I'll talk with people. I don't talk about Stout Street very often.
Really?
I don't, not that often. And like, I talk about it with my girlfriend, and she's a psychologist, and she's like, what in the fuck is this place?
Yeah.
And she gets like pissed off on my behalf.
Yes.
Because I went through that place. And like for me, I'm like fully accepting of it. And I'm grateful for it because it ended up like leading to so much good in my life. But then that's been the other part of realizing of like, oh yeah, it's kind of fucked up.
Yeah. My wife and I will talk about it still, and she's like, that is literally, because they're making hand over fist tons of money that's tax free, and like they're plugged in politically, and like,
yeah, I mean, Stout is not like that. Like they're hand to mouth.
Oh no, dude,
they're
this
not
place
raking
has got
it in
money
over there. Like I know the place is scraping by, and I mean, I ended up like being a part of the president of their alumni association afterwards, and then being on their board of directors for a period of time. So I got involved to try and kind of help precipitate change and stuff there. But then ultimately life took me in another direction, and everything else was, being on a board can be a big pain in the ass sometimes.
It sounds like it.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. But
okay, so you go to Stout Street and you make all these changes in your life, right? And there's like a level of, you understand that you have to get involved in service like way early on, but then where does that actually?
A lot of it, a lot of that change happened there because like, so I'm, and basically it's breaking my leg in treatment saved my life.
Really?
So I'll put it that way. Put that little little hook out there.
Yeah.
And so how it worked out, or it's like breaking my leg in treatment led me directly to where I am today.
Okay.
So I am.
How'd you break your leg?
So basically, well, I'll do a little bit before that. So like I'm working at this sawmill, and I fucking hated it. Like it was, 12-hour days in the hot sun. I mean, this like, tin, sheet metal factory that is freezing in the winter and 115 in the summer. And, I'm working this radial arm saw, and so sweating bullets while being in a cloud of sawdust. You just get this like wood paste that sticks. I'd blow my nose at the end of the day, and it's just all wood that would come out, and it was just miserable work. Really physically demanding. And so all the while they're basically like writs. I can't remember what the name, memos, I think is what they called them there, but it's like this piece of paper that you write on and you make requests to the staff. And I was doing it And you could do one a week. And I would do it every single week for that 6 months of like, I want a job transfer. I want a job transfer because I still had a valid driver's license. I was college educated, you
Oh, so you
know.
could change jobs at
You could
any
change
time?
jobs.
Dude, at
Yeah.
Delancey Street, you get
Mhm.
call-offs, and they only happen quarterly,
Mm.
and you're stuck with the job for sure,
Yeah.
for that quarter, but it is a rare thing when you get to change your job at the end of
Mm.
that quarter too.
There they would like every now and then listen to you. And oftentimes it was just where were you needed, you know?
Yeah.
And they didn't listen to me for 6 months, you know? And, eventually it ends up coming through that, "All right, we're gonna make you a driver." I was like,
Nice.
"Fuck yeah," you know? Because then at least I'm out on the road, I got the radio, you know, and I'm just taking people to and from job sites. And ended up having its own hard time. Like, those were long days. Like,
Yeah.
I would do these 18-hour
Were you doing
days.
deliveries and, donations and stuff like that?
Yeah, so you're,
Yeah.
like, picking up donations and stuff. You're driving people to medical appointments. You're
Mhm.
taking them to job sites and stuff. And, so I make this shift over to that role, and then 4 days after that so they have Argus, which was, like, concert security. And it's still around. I'll see him because I go to concerts all the time
Yeah.
now, you know, and I'll still see Argus there. But it was the concert cleanup part. And then it's like, I remember even thinking it, you know, because at that point I'm like, I think, because I was like 3, 4 months before I got in there, plus 6 months, you know, so I'm like 10 months. And even still, it's like, this feels sketchy because it was basically at Fiddler's Green, which is a big outdoor amphitheater in Denver. And it was doing concert cleanup for a Snoop Dogg concert. And it was like that year that he was Snoop Lion. You remember
Oh,
that?
no.
Yeah, where
Yeah.
he was all reggae and everything.
Mhm.
And so, and it's basically you go through, you have a group of people, you go through and you rake up all the garbage, throw all that shit away, and then you leaf blow everything, and then you hose everything down with a big ass fire hose. And you start at like midnight. So it's when everybody's cleared out. Then
Mhm.
you get in there and you're doing cleanup. And so I threw away just like pounds of weed, you know, and I was at that point, like I was committed to recovery.
Yeah.
So it's like, it didn't fuck with me too bad, but there was people I was with that it was like
Mhm.
really triggering, you know? They ended up getting rid of that contract later on
Makes
because of
sense.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But, so Fiddler's Green, you know, they call it that because it's got these green lawns for general admission that are like throughout the whole venue, not just in the front, but in like the middle and the back.
Yeah.
And so I'm hosing everything down with it. And then I go up and shut off this fire hose and I'm walking back down and I start slipping. And instead of just eating it onto my ass, which I should have done, I tried to kind of ride it out. So like, you know, skater style, left foot forward.
Mhm.
And I make it about 10 feet, and then there's an overgrowth with a divot in there, and my foot gets stuck, and then the rest of my body keeps going, and it breaks my leg in 2 places,
Okay.
you know? Well, 2 places, like both bones.
Yeah.
You know, just clean right across.
Mhm.
And so the only job they could give me at that point was overnight. They called it night monitor there.
Mhm.
And so it's just like glorified overnight security. You're just making sure shit doesn't go down,
Yeah.
you know? And so, here I am, you know, wanting this driving job for 6 months. And then like 4 days later, I'm doing night monitor with a broken leg, like laid up. Like I was in a wheelchair for a while. It was a bad break, you know, they had to like reset it and everything.
Did
And
they give
like,
you medication?
they offered it, but I said no.
Good. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that was, you know, I was offered opiates in jail, you know, like there was a guy there with football injuries and they gave him stuff for pain
Mhm.
and he offered to sell me some of his pills and I just and it fucked with me.
Yeah.
And because my instinct was like, no, 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 no. Because at that point, like my relationship with substances, I was so afraid of opiates,
Yeah.
of ever going back to that place again. But I still had this idea rumbling in my head of like, okay, alcohol,
Dude.
I can control that. I control weed, you know, and so it was basically this misconception around what a substance use disorder actually is.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
That
at
of like
that
I can
point, you had
control this.
no
And I had no
education
idea what
on
the
it,
fuck I
yeah.
was doing. I hadn't gotten any counseling or therapy or anything at all. And so, but at that point, I was motivated for all right, no opiates ever, you know, and so break my leg, you know, I'm working as night monitor, and so 2 stories with it. So for one, I'm doing the security thing with it. I'm going through the back of this big ass. They have this big open field kind of that's behind it. And that was part of night monitor's job. You go through with a flashlight, make sure there aren't any raccoons breaking into anything, or homeless people that jump the fence or something like that. And I'm rolling through, and it's a summer night, and this cool breeze kind of comes through, and I look up and I see the stars, and I just feel this like
calm.
warmth, this like calm kind of wash over me. And then the next thought after that was like, well, on paper, my life sucks. Like none of my family want anything to do with me. I'm, thousands of dollars in debt. I have like these felonies hanging over me. I'm in a 2-year-long treatment program, but how am I happy? And then it's like, well, maybe it has something to do with this whole sobriety thing.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it has something to do with this recovery thing where, at that point, 5 days was as long as I ever made it.
Yeah.
And so every day, which continues to this day, every single day I wake up and I work a program and I do what I need to do. It's a personal record every single day for my recovery, and at that point, again, it was like 9 months, 10 months, something like that. And it's by far the longest I'd ever been sober for. And it was that thought of, maybe it's not just sobriety, it's setting a goal and following through with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's committing to a process. And so then I started asking myself, it's like, what do I have to gain versus what do I have to lose?
Oh, yeah.
If I use again? And it's like, I don't have very much to gain. What, like dissociating, feeling high for a minute? It's like, okay, what do I have to lose? My life?
Yeah.
Everything, And so then that's really where motivation started to come in. And I started questioning, like, should I drink again? Should I smoke weed again? And that's really where I started wanting sobriety and recovery instead of being like forced, where up until that point, fear was my big motivator. So fear of going back to opiates, but then also fear of felonies, fear of prison, shame, guilt. That was my motivator. That was the coal in the engine room up until that point. And then it started changing over to recovery,
Yeah.
So anyway, it's like I'm working as night monitor. Like I was saying, breaking my leg led to where I am today, where working as night monitor, that means they pulled me off being a driver. And then, wouldn't you know it, they have the head orientation coordinator, where it's the person that oversees that first 30 days. And they ended up giving that job to me because I was already on site. I wasn't like in an off-site thing, and I was, laid up with my leg broken.
They couldn't utilize you outside.
Couldn't utilize me outside, but it was a better use for me to do that than to be overnight security. And so they have me change over to being the head OT coordinator, and I just fucking excelled at it. Like I ran with that, and it was basically a blown up version of what I was doing with that guy in the jail cell, where I was helping the people that were brand new in the program and helping them stabilize, And then the next thing, I did that for probably another 6-8 months, something like that. And then a position to open up in their admissions and outreach department, or the people that are answering the phone. And they approached me with like, hey, do you want to do admissions? And like, fuck yeah, let's do it. And so dove into that. And then, the people and the connections that I made there doing admissions, by the time you're finishing the program, like you're figuring out, all right, what kind of a 9 to 5 am I going to do? Because you have to have a job. You have to be able to save up X amount of money to complete the program. And a guy I was working with in there was Austin Eubanks. And so and it probably sounds familiar because I think you show a video in your training course. He was
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so he's the injured survivor of Columbine.
Yeah.
So he was shot 3 times in the library in Columbine, and then that kind of led to his journey of recovery.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was working with him in the outreach and admissions department. We knew each other. He ended up getting yanked out of it by the courts. He had his own legal stuff, and he got yanked out by the courts and ended up getting put into halfway house instead. But while he was working in that halfway house, he got a job working at a sober living IOP program in downtown Denver. And so I'm there trying to figure out what I'm going to do next, reach out to him, and he's like, oh, hey, their overnight tech just ended up getting fired. If you want, you can apply for it. I'm like the main hiring manager. I'll hire you in a minute. I'm like, all right. So ended up reaching out to him and then taking on that job. Because it was this fork in the road, where it's like, all right, I either go back into advertising and layout and make great money right now, or I start doing what I've always wanted to do and make way less money, but have something that I feel good about. And I am grateful every day that I ended up going the right way, going, this path. Because, I ended up coming on as an overnight tech there, and then ended up advancing to a case manager and then facility manager. And then the owner of the program ended up deciding, like, I don't want to do this work. She was not suited for it. She was like super whimsical Canadian hippie. And she's like, I want to start an anti-aging clinic in Puerto Rico. So she left her Colorado life behind to go start like a mud baths and Botox clinic.
Did that ever take off?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I mean, well, I think she was just fucking around on the beach. That's really what it was. But she like basically gifts this program to us, like me and Austin, in our little group where it's like, you guys can do whatever you want with this, And so we ended up rebranding it and tweaking the name a little bit, adding a new website, changing
Wait, she gave you the house and everything?
She basically said, pay me X amount of money per month for rent.
Okay.
And then you guys do whatever you want with the business. So she basically just like had us as unofficial operator and like an operating agreement on this treatment program, and I'm like technically still in treatment myself.
Yeah.
Like I'm in the sober living and then managing a sober living. That's like a separate company.
That's so funny.
And so we ended up like changing the curriculum and hiring on staff and kind of just changing the whole business model of it. And it turned around. And then she ended up, coming back and selling it a number of years later, a year or so later. But at that point, it was just this major opportunity. And so that got my foot in the door in the industry to start doing this type of work, And so the people that I met there, that's where I met Cody. That's where I met, a bunch of different connections.
You met Cody at the Sober Living?
Yeah. So at that time, he was running a treatment program in Boulder.
Yeah.
And so, you'd collaborate. Our programs would collaborate together.
Oh, wow.
And so that's when I first met him, and and so after that was bought and sold, I ended up doing case management, early like pure coaching intervention work for a little while, figuring out what the heck I wanted to do. And then a job opportunity came up for another transitional spot outside of Aspen, which I applied for, being their director of operations, ended up getting that, moving up there for a couple of years, and then after that moved back down to the Denver area and reconnected with Austin again. And then he ended up being the first person that he hired for this inpatient treatment program in Steamboat Springs. So, and the rest kind of led from there, where I was there for 8 years.
Yeah.
And then started doing consulting work, and, the rest is kind of history here. But it's like these dominoes started clicking into place directly from me breaking my leg in a treatment program.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Where it all started there, where it was like I couldn't have designed it if I wanted to.
Yeah.
And then ended up, completing the program, paying back all the, restitution. They ended up terminating my probation early, and like, so I think it was after 3-4 years altogether.
What's funny?
So like, I don't have anything on my record nowadays.
That is amazing.
So like, I don't even have, so they ended up throwing away the deferred, and then I was able to get it sealed even after that. So the charges don't even show up.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
Those programs, therapeutic communities, yes, we talk about them like that and all that, but they have such an amazing relationship and reputation with the court systems.
Right.
Like,
that's where I'm great, because that's where it's like I'll have my girlfriend say like, Jesus Christ, and she's acting like I survived Abu Ghraib or something like that.
Yeah. Oh, dude, and
it's like, well, I look at it like, I was fucked.
Yeah.
Like I was going to, in my mind, I was dead.
Yeah.
I was going to go to prison for the rest of my life. And before that, I was convinced that I was going to die.
Yeah.
So, and now I look at my life and I got 2 beautiful kids. I got a house. I got an amazing job. And most of all, because that's just all stuff, aside from, kids, that's relationships. But like,
it's
how
still
I
a reflection
feel,
of what
it's a reflection of it. But I think a lot of it is just how I feel. Where it's like, I do not take things nearly as seriously as I did before.
Yeah.
Where it's like,
in a negative way.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Where it's like, what's permanent, what isn't, what matters and what doesn't.
I think there's like, a real sense of what means
Hey,
things,
well, what actually matters?
Yeah.
Because it is so easy and so tempting. And again, it's human biology. It's how we're wired to like get revved up over stupid shit.
For real.
And it's tempting. Like, I'll be driving. I'll still get pissed off in traffic sometime. Oh, look at this motherfucker. And but the thought immediately after that is like compassion. Is like, is any of this worth getting worked up over? No. And a lot of that comes like that's like like I've got a no mud no lotus tattooed on my arm.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That is so
right.
funny.
And it's like my favorite book, right? And it's just that piece of philosophy.
I never knew that you had that.
Oh yeah, yeah. Where it's like just like so Thich Nhat Hanh, right? It's like one of his like most famous books, and it really talks about the benefits that come from suffering.
Yeah.
Where like, so you have the beautiful lotus flower that grows only out of the muck.
Yeah.
So it's like you have the deep, smelly mud that produces this beautiful, multipolar, colorful flower.
Mm-hmm.
And it's almost the same as like, did you ever see Inside Out, a cartoon?
I haven't.
You should check it out, man.
I haven't.
I mean, I know it's because I got kids. I've checked it, but it's like I've even like they used to show it in the treatment program that I was working on because it's like the same idea. Where
is that the one with the emotions?
Yeah,
I haven't seen it.
You should check it out, man. It's worth a watch.
Okay,
it's definitely worth a watch. But it's basically that same idea that oftentimes we convince ourselves that happiness and sadness are mutually exclusive.
Mm-hmm.
I'm either all the way happy or I'm fucking miserable.
Yeah.
But same as the philosophy with No Mud No Lotus is that they're flip sides of the same coin.
Mm-hmm.
Where you can't have one without the other.
Yeah, that's why I have my coin collection.
There you go.
It's I
see it.
We have to take the good with the bad.
Right. Where it's like we learn from the bad.
Yeah.
And like if I hadn't gone through all that bad shit, then I wouldn't have the good today.
Yeah, that's what I always say, right? Is like the best parts of me are a direct result of my suffering.
Yeah. No, exactly. And so it's like, it's that misconception of I'm either 100% sad, I'm 100% happy. When in reality, life is, we're riding the waves,
Mm-hmm.
man. And it's like, and that's such it's an intertwined thing with like my higher power also,
Mm-hmm.
is that, all right, if the times when I don't get my way, or the times that I'm disappointed, or the times that I'm challenged are also the times that I learn and grow the most, then why do I experience fear or anxiety in those times when I'm not getting my way or I'm being challenged?
Yeah, and well, why do you think it is?
Well, yeah, and it's like, so it's just that undertone of like everything's gonna be okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's that the trust in the process, it's faith, even in a sense of like, as long as I keep working every day to be the best version of myself, tomorrow is going to take care of itself.
Yeah.
And it's like, is it worth worrying about what might happen? No, that's like, it's wasted energy and effort. If I focus on, all right, today I'm going to journal. Today I'm going to go to a meeting. Today I'm going to like, call a friend and see how they're doing. Today I'm going to play with my kids. I'm just going to act like a fucking, I get weird. I get like really kid-like with them. And just disconnect.
Right. Yeah.
Just like throw that shit to the side and I'll do dolls with my daughter, And it's like, cause those are the things that matter,
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, that realization is a direct gift from all the suffering and the shit that I went through in the past. So like, wrapping it all together, it's like where, I will hear from people just how crazy this treatment program. Yeah, it was crazy. It was absolutely crazy going through that program and living it when I did. But it is 1,000 times better than the meeking out, the squashing out of the light that would have been me dying, those 14 years ago. And that's the thing that's, ever present in my mind.
Yeah.
No matter what I'm going through, this time today feels like a gift. Because it's like, I was going to die.
Yeah.
So it makes everything relative.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's, I feel for people that are out there still going through it, right? Because it's not pleasant. Right?
It's not.
But
it's almost like
But if you
They're going
are
through their process,
yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah,
they
and
have to
that's the
suffer.
if they are allowed the full benefit of their suffering, right? So if they can if the people around them can allow them to do what they need to do,
Mhm,
right? Because there is a lot of love that is misdirected towards
mhm,
people that are suffering, right? That are actively using or going
right.
through it, whatever. And people love with their wallet or with their time. Like it gets to that
Mm,
point where it's like, we can't do anything for you. So they always draw this line where it's like, well, I'll help you out, but you can't come into my house.
right.
Or I'm not going to give you money, but I'll spend some time with you, right? So it always
Mhm.
basically comes down to this. And it's like, as long as they aren't taking the responsibility for them anymore, it allows them to be responsible for their own decisions still, right?
Well, yeah, and it's natural. I mean, that's the human condition is like we don't want the people that we love to suffer or to be in
Absolutely.
pain. We want to alleviate that pain. I think about it with my kids, and there's little microcosms of it all the time
Hmm.
where like sometimes one of the best things that I can do as a parent is let natural consequences run their course.
Yeah.
Where it's like I'll try and guide and be like, "All right, you got this presentation tomorrow that you're doing in front of your class. Let's set aside some time to study and get ready for it." And he fucks off and doesn't really
Yeah.
do it. Then it's like, "Okay, dude."
Have you seen The
You
Passion of the
know?
Christ?
Not in many years.
So there's
Yeah.
that scene where like Jesus is walking to his crucifixion
Mhm.
and he falls and Mary has that flashback of him falling when he's a kid.
Mm.
And then there's like it's flashing back and forth between what's going on actively and like her having these memories.
Yeah.
And that always like I think about that pretty often because it's like this woman couldn't do anything about it, right? She
Right.
tried to carry his cross at one point and stuff like that. It's like that is a very, very real thing that people do constantly for their kids is
Right.
they try to carry their
Well,
cross
and I
for
think
them.
it's understanding that from a place of compassion too.
Mhm.
Like that's a thing that I'll explain to families is like this is like engineering. This is how our brains are set is to protect our child,
Mhm.
is to help our child. But oftentimes that's one of the most counterintuitive parts of
Yes.
addiction is natural consequences is like I am going to be here to love and support you, but here are my boundaries around doing that. I don't, and just like drawing a line in the sand, like I'm not going to sacrifice myself in order to save you,
Yeah.
and that's nothing to judge. It's like I completely understand that being a parent myself,
Yeah. Yeah, I always
like
I talk to people, well, you
hmm,
probably people talk about this with people all the time too, but I say it all the time where it's like that one time that you allowed them to come inside out of the rain could have been the time
right.
that they learned that lesson.
Well, then that's the gratitude I have for my dad is that he picked up the phone and he called the police.
Yeah.
Like, and my dad is like he was one of the most like kind, people pleasy, non-confrontational humans ever. Like, just genuinely kind. Like, that was the counterbalance of the relationship with him and my mom. My mom was like all right, fucking watch out,
Yeah.
bull in a china shop, no
Mhm.
bullshit,
Oh yeah, I
and then,
identify with this
and
for
he
sure.
was the peacekeeper.
Yeah.
He's like going, all right, everyone. And, how counterintuitive was that to his comfort zone to be like, "Hey, here's a detective,"
Yeah.
you know,
Or the conversation that he had to have that led up to
that
him
led
handing you the
up to
phone.
that. Yeah,
Jeez.
and it's if he hadn't done that, like, then I would have been dead,
Yeah,
and at that time, it felt like a betrayal.
for sure.
It felt so and there was, like in jail for that 4 months, he came to visit me, like, a couple of times, but the first time he came to visit me, it had been 2 months. I hadn't heard from him, not a phone call, not a visit, nothing,
Did you try
and
calling
I
him?
tried calling
Okay.
him, yeah, and he wouldn't pick up and everything,
Yeah.
um, then it's like all of a sudden I have a visit, and it's like an unexpected visit, like, "Oh, shit. Is it really good or really bad?" Come around the corner, and there he is, behind the plexiglass. And I thought like, "Okay, cool. Maybe he's starting to" because at that point, I thought I was like I'm like, "I'm 2 months. I'm past detox. Look at me, hot shit over here." And like,
It wasn't like more bad
oh,
news.
yeah. Yeah, so
Yeah.
I get to the window and I sit down and he basically just came in to tell me that he had compiled a whole list of everything that I had stolen and given it to the police, and they were going to be adding like 20 extra charges. And I'm like, oh, fuck. And that was like a low point, because it's like here, it was the disappointment. It was the knock me back down to earth, that little flick on the back of the ear from the universe, of like, no, you still got a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
Dude.
You know what? That's a good point. Like, that's something that I do talk about all the time, right? Is that like, people don't understand that, like, when you get sober, oftentimes it sucks even worse for a while.
Oh, yeah. Well, then it's understanding that it's not just your journey, it's your family's journey also, where it's like, just because I feel better doesn't mean that they feel better, and it takes time for forgiveness to come in. And, I mean, that was the thing, like, my family eventually started coming around and talking to me again, but I had to show them through action that I had changed instead of just my meaningless words, So, like, there was a good chunk of them that was celebrating when I hit a year in the program, and when I completed the program, they were there. And then you cut to, so my dad had liver cancer, and ended up passing away last year. And in the year prior to that, I've got a brother and a sister, and we've got cousins and family all over the place. There was one other person that had another key to his house, and that was like there with him throughout that process, and it was me, and that was like, and there was also like, I ended up being the executor of his estate.
Yeah.
And it went from the, him changing the locks on his front door because he was afraid I was going to break back in and steal something, to me being the only person having a key to that front door. And that was all a gift of recovery, and that was the, what is it? Don't see the forest for the trees, or whatever the saying goes.
You can't see the forest through the trees.
Right. So it's like the understanding that, he has his right to process his anger and his fear and everything around my using as well. And then it's just going to take time. I mean, it was the epitome of that living amends, where it's like, all right, I'm going to do whatever I can to make sure that this person does not have to lose sleep over me anymore. And then the forgiveness and everything came. And like, because after he was diagnosed, like I was trying to scramble and think of like, all right, what conversations have we not had? What are the things that have gone unsaid? And I had done formal amends and stuff. I ended up getting that Luger back, which is a whole nother long story. But it was the, one final conversation of like, is there any resentment that's still out there from you? And I'm sorry for those things I've done. And he's like, honestly, you have nothing to apologize for. Like, I'm just glad that you're alive.
Yeah.
I'm just glad you're okay. That I can go not worrying about you. And that's what happened.
Yeah. All right, man. I appreciate your time.
Yeah.
Right.
And excited to keep digging into these, and I mean, hell, I think we'll probably have to do a multi-part conversation on this one.
Yeah.
I ended up ranting this whole fucking time.
Yeah. I mean, hey, that was kind of the point, right?
You got more to rant about than I do on the next one here, though.
All right. Thanks for listening to My Last Relapse. I'm Matt Handy, the founder of Harmony Grove Behavioral Health, Houston, Texas, where our mission is to provide compassionate, evidence-based care for anyone facing addiction, mental health challenges, and co-occurring disorders. Find out more at harmonygrovebh.com. Follow and subscribe to My Last Relapse on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you like to stream podcasts. Got a question for us? Leave a message or voicemail at mylastrelapse.com. If you're feeling overwhelmed or struggling, you don't have to face it alone. Reaching out for support is a sign of strength, and help is always available. If you or anyone you know needs help, give us a call 24 hours a day at 888-691-8295.